So the topic of today, I give continuation to the third book of this chapter is the divine or natural laws. And the topic is quite challenging. Good and evil appears to be quite simple and easy, but in reality, it places tremendous challenge and because of the ambiguity of this idea that we have of, everything's just two sides, good and evil, right and wrong, yin and yang, and so forth and so on. We live with this duality of things, and we believe that everything's a duality, and when in reality it's not, right? And that makes it very difficult to us to understand. So let's start with 629, and let's try to understand 629, because I believe, you might understand, everything breaks down from this answer. If you do understand this answer, everything will make sense. Okay? 629, Philip.
How should moral law be defined? Moral law is the rule for acting rightly, which may be understood as practically distinguishing between good and evil. It is formed on the adherence of God's law. Humankind acts fairly and properly when good is the ultimate goal and rule of action, which is acting in compliance with God's law.
Thanks. So in the question, Kardec asks, how should moral law be defined? And the answer is, moral law is the rule of acting rightly. So the first thing that you notice here is both the question and the answer is in the singular, not plural. It's one law. It's moral law, right? Later on in question, I believe 642, I think, Kardec is going to ask the spirits, is it okay to divide, to break it down? Like in 10. Kardec broke down in 10. And the spirit says, yeah, do whatever you want, just as long as you understand and practice, do anything you do. And for didactic reasons, it makes sense to try to divide and conquer, so to say. But is it important that you understand there is one moral law? Even more than that, there is one God's law. There is one natural law. So the law of the gravity, all the laws of the physics, all the moral laws, it contained in one single law, which is the law of God. It is the natural law, the divine laws, whatever name you want to give to it. The verb is defined. So moral law is acting rightly, period. You could end here, but we can't, because what does it mean, acting rightly? Of note, you have to understand, you have to see over here, acting. So moral laws, or the rules of God, is action, is acting. It's not something philosophical, it's not something theoretical, they're going to sit down in our lives and find it very pretty. It's to act on it. So to begin with, the first thing that we know here, in one simple sentence, we have here, there is one law, moral law in the singular. And the rule is for acting. It's not for contemplation, it's not for adoration, it's for acting on it, okay? And to act rightly. So naturally you ask, what the heck does it mean to act rightly? And the spirits know that we have the question and the answer, which may be understood as practically distinguished between good from evil. And you see over again the word practically. In practice, distinguish good from evil. In acting, in distinction between good from evil. And of course, the next question would be, what is good and what's evil? And that is the biggest challenge that we're going to see ahead. And that's basically the next question. it is found in the adherence of God's law. Humankind acts fairly and properly when good is the ultimate goal of the rule of action, which is acting in compliance with God's laws. So when the intention is towards good, understand good, then we are acting in accordance to God's law. And again, you don't like the name God's law? God's law gives something very religious. For those like myself who have something against religions, and we shouldn't, but unfortunately do. Think it's a divine law, think it's a natural law, whatever, change it. Change the God's law. I write the divine laws. I like divinity. But look at the regular natural laws. Natural is nice, right? But if you're comfortable with God's law, you can use that also. But so Kardec naturally says, okay, the ability to distinguish good and evil. So Kardec will ask the very next question: how can you distinguish between good and evil? And by the way, just remind everyone that this is not a lecture. I'm not here in the position of teacher. This is a group study group. Anyone has comment, anyone has questions, stop me, and we can go over, okay? If this does not generate a lot of questions and a lot of comments, I don't know what could. Okay?
6:30.
Yeah.
How can we distinguish between good and evil? Good complies with God's law, and wickedness diverges from it. Therefore, to do right is to comply with God's law, and to do wrong is to violate that law.
The problem with this here is that the spirits are giving us an answer for things that are still coming ahead. We are just starting this chapter of God's law. So we're going to see Kardec will ask the spirits if they can break this law into little pieces so can better understand it. And we see law of liberty, law of labor, law of worship, law of everything, right? He breaks down that. So when you go ahead and continue studying this book, you have a better understanding of what do they mean by God's law. What does it mean to comply with God's law? What does it mean to comply with the natural or divine laws? So it's going to be to comply with the law of labor, to comply with the law of worship, to comply with the law of liberty, to comply with all the laws. But we haven't got there yet. So it advances us to give an answer to something that I have not studied yet. So you have to take it as is right now. Okay? Talking distinction between good and evil. Well, you distinguish good and evil when you walk it in accordance with the divine laws. And we divert from it when we go against the divine laws. That's all that we have right now. We can go farther because we didn't get there yet. But once we understand what is the law of labor, what is this subdivision or the subdivision that we call in law of labor is, how can you comply to it? Then we understand it. But right now, just take the words for the spirits. Can go much further than this. 631.
Do humans have the means to distinguish good from evil? Yes, when they believe in God and truly wish to do what is right. God has given human beings intelligence to distinguish between them.
Okay. And we studied here before that one thing that differentiates humans from animalia is that innate belief in the divinity. That, amongst all cultures, they have never had contact with one another. The concept of something that transcends the physical, that transcends the material is always present. There is this innate perception, understanding of the divinity, of something that transcends, that is much bigger than the physical life that we have over here. So the belief in God is something that comes natural to us, right? It is out of our pride and selfishness can start deviate from that natural instinct or so that we have of having that belief in God. Further along, we have understood that over here in question 621 that it was studied last week. God asked God the Spirit, where is this damn law written? And the answer is very simple, in our conscience. And everybody has a conscience, right? So do we have means? Yes, we do have means. We have this innate belief in God. Okay, you just have to use it. We all have a conscience. We have to learn to retrieve to it before we act and not after we act. You know, oh, I dropped the ball too late, or I dropped the ball. If you have retrieved your conscience before, perhaps you would not have dropped the ball. Right? If you use this, our conscience, to help us before we make decisions, before we act, then we'll be able to distinguish good from evil. And of course, intelligence. Intelligence to make decisions to retrieve to our conscience or not. And once you retrieve that conscience, may I use what is my intelligence is telling, my conscience telling me, or go against it? That is an intelligent thing that you do right there. I retrieve to my conscience or not. And if I do, and my conscience tells me to go A, then I follow A, or do I follow B? Do I follow C? That is using my intelligence and my free will, of course, because I use my free will to make those decisions. Questions, comments? Next question.
632. As humans are subject to error, can they make mistakes in their judgments of good and evil? Can they believe to be doing right when, in reality, they are doing wrong? Jesus said, "Do to others whatever you would have them do to you." That sums up everything. You will never go wrong.
Okay, so on my translation, which I like better than the newest one, it gives the whole sentence. Do to others whatever you have them to do to you. This is the law and the prophets. It's not everything else is already. This is the law and the prophets. That is the whole sentence of Jesus. Okay, so this is the law. Do to others. And again, action, do. Okay, it's the idea, as Jesus has said, you have heard before, do not do to others, but I tell you, do to others. So he changed the law for a passive nature. As long as I sit over here, don't harm anyone, I'm good. And Jesus said, telling us, no, this is not good anymore. It was good at one point. Now you guys know better. Now go and do to others. It's proactive. The whole teaching of Christ is extremely proactive. It's to act. That's why he came here. It can serve as an example. He could just send somebody to write a book for him. But he came to act, to show to us how to act. So he do to others. Extremely proactive. Go back to the moral law is the rule of acting rightly. We're always going to come back to this. Always going to come back, but at least I think we should always come back to this. Okay. This is the law and the prophets. The sum of moral laws is contained in this phrase. Make it your golden rule, and you will never go wrong. Mm-hmm.
I have it's not a question, but because what I do is to help people communicate better, leaders and teams. We call golden rule, what you just said. And then I ask people, my trainings, do you think that's productive as communication tools? And most people say yes. But in my business or in my field, that is not the best rule. The best rule is platinum rule. Treat others the way they want to be treated. Because the assumption in the golden rule is that everybody likes the same thing. So, for example, like Brazilians, we are very touchy-feely, we kind and kiss, but not every culture likes that. So when we go in other cultures, it's important to learn from them how they want to be respected and greeted. So in my business, we teach the platinum rule is better than the golden rule in the sense that first you have to know yourself, your preferences. Secondly, you have to know the other. And then choose the language of the other to be respectful to it. I don't know if you apply to spiritism, but at least we, in my field, learn the platinum rule. So leaders and great communicators know the difference between their groups and can communicate with them according to their preferences. So that's my.
Were you guys able to hear it on, you guys online?
Yes?
Everybody heard?
Yes.
Good, excellent. Okay, so yeah, I totally agree with you. And we're going to discuss that later on. We speak with cultures. We speak of social economical differences. We speak of races and how the climate makes changes in our minds, or how the topography makes us different from one another. These are all external to the external spirit. When you peel off all of those things, when it comes to the essence of the spirit, we are much more alike. And this rule apply for all of us when you peel off all those little differences that we have. And in that, we need the respect towards others. So yes, you're right. No, if in a culture that you should not be kissing on the street, you should respect and not be kissing on the street. If you don't know, you make a mistake and you offend someone. But that those are external to the spirit itself. When you go to the essence, we are a lot more alike. We all like to be respected, yes. That is common to the spirits. So you give the same respect back to someone. Right. So when you take off, and you're absolutely right, and in your field of work, we're going to deal with multicultural individuals. Yes, you have to try to know their cultures, know their likes and dislikes. But that's the culture is still just a layering over the spirit. You peel that off, and the essence, you come to this golden rule, in my opinion.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, because that makes so much sense now for me. Because one thing that I think relates to also in my field, social psychology, is the number one need of everyone, apart from sleeping and eating, is to belong, which is to be accepted, loved, and respected. So that ties exactly what you say. So thank you for that, because I had a little bit of confusion, because in my work, I believe in something and then it's spiritual, but now it makes totally sense. When we rip ourselves from this environment, like the incarnated life, especially, that makes sense that we all want to belong to a higher level of unconditional love. Thank you for that.
Any more? $6:33.
Can you raise it?
Oh. That it's too much technology for me, man. I can't.
633. We cannot apply the rule of good and evil, what we might call reciprocity and solidarity, to the personal conduct of human beings in relation to themselves. Can we find the rule of conduct in natural law along with a safe guide? When you eat too much, it harms you. Well then, that is God letting you know what is necessary for you, and when you exceed that measure, you are punished. It is the same with everything else. Natural law establishes the limit of each person's needs, and when the limit is exceeded, the resulting suffering serves as atonement for the infraction. If humankind listened to the voice that says, enough, they would avoid most of the troubles and misfortunes that they blame on nature.
Okay. So we already have help from our conscience, but all the rules are already there for us, as long as we're able to retrieve to it. You gotta have that innate belief in God. Now we can say you gotta have the gospel of Christ. And God asks you, say, can we have something else? Can I have some safe mechanism, something that help us not to stick our elbow in our mouth, cannot do anything else to help us here? Basically, that's what he's asking over here, right? And the answer to the Spirit is great. Eating too much, it is bad to you. The thing is, God is absolute love and benevolence. You do not throw us over here without all the necessary safe mechanisms. So there is plenty of safe mechanisms. Some are not pleasant. Pain. Pain is the greatest defense mechanism. It's the greatest alarm that you have. You have pain, what's it telling? Something's wrong. Something needs to be fixed. Normal, you should not have pain. If you have pain, something is out of whack. Should be checked, should be worried, you know. Something smells bad. Well, it's a sign that perhaps should not eat that anymore. It's a defense mechanism. It's a safe mechanism. And you have so many more. We have the fire alarms over there. Technology helps us. You know, we smell smoke. Well, you're supposed to smell smoke. Is somebody lighting a fire? No, so something's wrong. Let's check. So God provides us with plenty of defense mechanisms. Every time that you go into a wrong direction, you receive a sign. You receive maybe should not go in that direction. But again, we have intelligence, we have pride and selfishness, and we make decisions. So there's plenty of safe mechanisms to protect us from continuing that path. Right? But again, we have the golden rule. Well, what am I doing? Would I really be pleased if someone did the same thing to me with respect? Would I be content someone to respect me, to respect my culture, to respect the color of my skin? Would I like that? Now you have a decision to make. No, I do not like, but I continue doing it anyway, or I correct my behavior. The alarm is there, everything is there. So there is a safe mechanism for us to correct ourselves, or even better, to never get into the wrong to begin with. Right? There is plenty. Being still ignorant spirits in the early stages of evolution, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to fall into traps. And I can't believe that a absolute benevolence would not provide us with safe mechanisms, with a way to rescue ourselves, to correct ourselves along the way, you know, to reconcile with our brothers on the way to the altar. There will always be a call for us. Questions, comments?
Hey, Elmo.
Yes?
I'm trying to digest this. I have a little, it's not a problem, but you know, just trying to understand. First question, quick question. This law, I mean, we're talking about humans because you know we are all humans, but this is the law for the creation itself, right? It doesn't matter if it's human, if it's a regeneration planet, a happy planet, or whatever. This is the law for everything, right?
I believe it is. And I'm absolutely certain that it is for us here and the one below us. For anything above us, I cannot answer.
Okay. So, because I think...
I want to go to that point and what I have been before. Going up, I haven't been there yet. I cannot answer.
Okay, so because I think, and that's just me, we give too much credit for us, because when you say we have intelligence that we have in our conscience to understand what good is, what evil is, and everything, and when you look back, we need the 3 revelations and we still don't understand. You know, you have Moses, you have Jesus, you have Spiritans, and we still don't get it. And so I don't think at this point, that's why I ask, you know, for maybe later, that we are able to fully understand and make a very intelligent approach, or to get to understand, to make a right judgment on the law, because we don't understand the law. Even though with the tree of revelation, we still don't understand, because if we do, we wouldn't be in the mess that we are right now. So I mean, I myself, I personally, I'm more of a follow and trying to make the best out of it, but I'm kind of having a trying to understand, because this I understand that the responsibility that everyone has it, but this kind of, the way I'm seeing it kind of tells that we are able to figure out and do a good job with all of this, and I don't think we can.
Okay. So what part of that we, not you, but we, that you do not understand, that you have trouble to understand on this statement? Do to others whatever you would have them to do to you.
Because
Do to others everything that you'd like them to you in the same circumstances. What part of that, it's not clear? What is the confusion in this statement?
it's not about the confusion. And I mean, it is a confusion because as the person was saying, the person there was saying that we don't know ourselves, and sometimes, you know, it differs from what I think is best for me is not for the odds. We studied here before that sometimes people do bad things out of love because they think they are doing the right thing. And that's why I'm saying that we don't understand the laws yet, but we are getting the full responsibility of the laws, even though we don't fully understand it. That's what I'm saying, that at our level, I think we are getting too much credit that we can handle this, and I don't think we can. I mean, we crucified Jesus.
Well,
I mean,
so you think that Christ came here 2000 to waste that time, just wasting his time?
no, he
Do you
didn't
think
waste
he
his
came
time.
here when we are not ready for it yet?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying that the way that's put in here, at least from my perception, it says that you are able to see good and evil. You are able to use your intelligence and discern what's bad or not, and do to others what you wanted to do to yourself or whatever. It seems that okay, so we are able to do all the stuff, but on practical terms, we're not doing it.
All
So
right. Christ told us you believe in Christ.
yes,
You think I mean that he lied to us?
no.
No. So did he tell us that you can do everything that I do and much more? Did he tell us that if you have the faith of a grain of mustard, you could move mountains? Of course, our interior mountains, of course.
All I'm saying that
Well, so what I'm trying to tell you here now is this: as Joanna Jones tells us, our problem today is not of knowing, it's of doing. You know, we've been to that many times. Our problem is stop or actually transferring our knowledge into actions. Start to act. It's not about knowing anymore. We know. You just have to start to do it. And we need to use all the necessary tools that helps us to propel us forward into doing. And that's what we're doing here right now. Each one of us at our own time.
didn't Jesus say forgive them because they don't know what they're doing?
But that was when he came to give us the gospel. How long will we be asking for forgiveness for not knowing what we're doing? Yeah, even after he brought us the entire gospel, even sitting here with the third revelation.
You just say everyone at their own time.
Right. How long?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying, that, you know, I think we get too much credit for something that I don't think we're doing a good job in judging and trying to interpret or understand this. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that everything here is wrong, and I'm saying that Jesus ways, and it's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is it kind of, you know, at least on my point of view, it puts like a unrealistic I don't know the word, an unrealistic expectation, if you will, that we can do something at this point. That's why I asked from if this is the law is for everything. If it's for everything, then I get it. We are not able to understand fully, so we do the best we can. But maybe later on we are be able to do to our neighbor as we want to do to ourselves. But now we don't even know who we are. So that's why, you know, my perception is this. We can even understand this. That's why we studied this book like 300 times already. So that's just it. And I'll leave to that.
Yeah, again, the problem is not of knowing. We have the knowledge. The problem is start to put into practice. That's the difficulty. That's the biggest challenge. And if Christ have told us that we could, I believe in Christ, then we can.
Can I just add
Go back
something?
to question 912 of this book, and the Spirit's book asks, why is it so hard for us to transform our behaviors? And the answer was, it's not hard at all. Understand why I call it hard. It's quite easy. What you guys lack is the will. So once we transform our will in that direction, then we're going to be able to apply that knowledge in association with the will, and we'll be able to do all this.
Thank you.
Well, can I say something?
Please.
Yes, I just sent it to everybody, a link to a Wikipedia article on the Golden Rule, because as you well said, I mean, this is an old concept, but the way that Jesus put it, it makes total difference, which is do to others. And then also, it's an interesting article if you have the time to click on it and see the concept of, you know, just as that, just the variations of do to others, whatever you would have them do to you.
Mhm.
That all those different beliefs and ancient philosophies or religions already had in their dogma. And just going back again to what I almost said, to how difficult it is to do to others, is I follow a lot of Chico Xavier's sayings, and I found one that I come across a lot, which is there's a lot of people talking about Jesus or discussing what he did and what this or that, but very few doing what he did. So it's just time to kind of follow the example, not only in thinking but in action, just like you almost said. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Any more comments? Oh, you have a comment.
One of the things that I really liked about the Spiritism, as far as I understand, is that first and foremost thing that we talk about in Jesus' teaching is charity. So it doesn't really matter, even if we believe in God or if we understand the laws, but as you said, it's about doing. So when people are doing, and that's in the beginning of my spiritual journey, I could not understand what I call cristãos de carteirinha, or Christians who put their, their little thing and do, oh yeah, I've done the Sunday thing, so I'm good. So so when I understood that what really matters is charity, is what we're saying, that the doing parts. So most of us understand the golden rule, but not always. We are willing to put in practice, which is the key element. So I have a different opinion. I do think most of us know what it is, but we're not ready to commit with what it takes. Because I always say there's what's correct and what's convenient. And both things are not the same in general. Correct is correct for all. Convenient is convenient for few. And when we try to do what's correct for all, is when we are trying to do it. And that takes courage because, it's not where the majority is going. But I think if we go back to the key element as charity is more important than faith itself, it explains what you're trying to say. I mean, we know, but are we doing it?
Yeah, what I like in Spiritism in relation to the moral teachings of Christ is that it takes Christ outside of the church, outside of the temples, outside of the cross, and puts on the streets. It's there, it's for us to act on it. It's to use the instrument to help us to be better to ourselves and to our neighbors. It's just another tool, another instrument here for us to utilize. And if we have sincere faith and believe that this is the recipe for happiness, not only for myself, but for everyone else, you'd be in much better shape today if like a greater percentage of the population would follow it. It's not a matter of religion or religiosity, it's a matter of making life better for everyone. The issue of good and evil, when André Luiz asked his mentor, I think it's actually a reaction, not quote me on that, but they go inside of a prison and in incarnate word, they look at all the prisons over there, and André Luiz is able to read that some of those individuals are not all that bad. I mean, they perhaps commit a mistake, deserve to be in prison for whatever the law of the land it is. But he's kind of perplexed with the great variety of minds incarcerated over there. And he asks his mentor, what is good and what's evil? And the answer from the mentor, I don't remember if it was Alexander also, I don't remember. He goes and says, good is food for everyone, is education for everyone, is medical care for everyone, and go all those great things for everyone, things for everyone. And he stops continue walking, and what is evil? Evil is all of those things for oneself. It's simple as that. And what is the golden rule? It's exactly that, the exercise of charity. And what is charity? Benevolence, indulgence, and forgiveness. Who would not like to receive benevolence when needed? Who would not like to receive indulgence with our difficulties? Who would not be forgiven when you drop the ball? When you peel off all the cultures that are aspect, we come to this. The Terra Spirit wants this. Now, if I'm able to share my loaf of bread, why do I not share my loaf of bread with the guy with hungry? It's just plain selfishness, and that goes against the golden rule, and that creates a responsibility toward me for not living in accordance with that law. It's not that hard. What's hard is to free ourselves from pride and selfishness that does not allow us to apply our knowledge in a more consistent, so to say. So is that we don't know? No, we know. But in order to practice, you have to free yourselves. You have to unlearn selfishness. You have to unlearn pride. And then you'll be able to exercise what we know. Any more comments, questions?
I think also it's a term of every transformation is a process and requires time. Right? Sometimes we tend to compare ourselves to Jesus and say, we're not there yet. So it's a matter of go through the teachings and then acquiring the consciousness. And from there on, you move to acting in coherence to that until you reach the consistency. So it's a process. So, and then we need to get there individually, but also collectively. And that's why sometimes you tend to think that we're too far away from that and might never get there. It's a matter of one step at a time.
Absolutely. Time is what? Time is God's greatest ally, right? God fixes everything. Give time. right? And you have to be indulgent, benevolent, and forgiving to ourselves as well. We cannot be so hard. Yes, it's a process. I'm very patient. Maybe tomorrow be a little less impatient. If I was a little bit until I conquer patience. Because if I so-called lose my patience, because I don't have it. Once you're patient, you're patient. But we can be a little less impatient, a little more forgiving, a little more indulgent. It's a process. It takes time. When Christ said that we can do everything, he does it much more. He didn't say right then and there. It takes time. He didn't say when. The when is up to us. But he was not lying. Well, I don't believe he was lying. But each one has its time. And we need to be, again, you have a little more benevolent and even indulgent towards ourselves, the process. No one gonna hear, none of us, I'm sorry to say, gonna live this reincarnation as a Chico Xavier, as a Mother Teresa, as a Gandhi. Okay? They didn't make themselves in one reincarnation. It's a process, it takes time. And we have to allow time to do its little magic. But you have to work on it. Don't sit and wait, because it's not gonna work. You have to work on it. Um, 648, I've done for one more, 634.
Why does evil exist in the nature of things? I'm speaking of moral evil. Couldn't God have created the human race under more favorable conditions? We have already told you that when spirits are created, they are simple and ignorant. God leaves all human beings free to choose their own path. Too bad for them if they choose the wrong one. Their journey will be longer. If there were no mountains, humans could not grasp the concept of climbing uphill and descending. If
Go. I like the book better.
if there were no rocks, they could not understand the. What happened here? Sorry,
Okay,
I'm interrupted. Hang on.
that's no problem. That's life.
Bye.
The modern days.
Okay, where was I?
There were no rocks. If there were no rocks,
They could not understand the concept that hard bodies exist. Spirits must acquire experience, and to do this properly, they must know both good and bad. This is why there is a union of spirit and body.
I think that's the perennial question, right? Why in heck could God make us perfect already? Why do you need to go through all this? And the question, the answer is go ask him. I don't know. Yeah. That's the way he designed things. Because in its my opinion, in his infinite humility and humbleness, he does not take credit for anything. He lets us take credit for everything. So perfection was going to be our credit, not his. He designed the system that gets us from simple ignorant to reach perfection to our own work, to our own learning, to our own exercise. And much of those learning exercise requires come here and be attached to this physical body and go to this experience of the flesh that challenges us to liberate ourselves from self-image and pride that we input in ourselves, by the way. God did not give us that. God does not give us anything that is bad. If a child is starting to learn how to eat, how to walk, it will fall. The errors and mistakes, no, it's a process of learning. We need to learn to walk to falling. You need to know how to get up and stand up and try again. It's a process of learning. And with that, with our inability to free ourselves completely from materiality, we hold on to selfishness and to pride. And one day in our existence, that selfishness, pride are our survival skills. You need to be selfish, you need to be for yourself, otherwise you're gonna get clapped in the hand. You need to be the stronger, you have to defend yourself at all costs. You need to be proud for yourself. I'm the one who's gonna make it everyone. I'm gonna, put out my genetic pool there for everyone else and nobody else will. Otherwise, it never would have to express a genetic pool. And that is one instinctive animal thing. We want to regenerate our genetic pool. We don't care about the species. We don't care about others. We care about our own genetic pool. And that has been proved with studies. That has been proven with very small animals like fish, like zebrafish, that they will defend, they'll protect their own genetic pool before they take care of any other fish around there. That's pride. We have to evolve, we have to unlearn those things. And in order to unlearn those things, you'll make mistakes and get into bad things. And it's good that Kardec says, I'm speaking of immorality. It's only talk about it related to moral aspects over here. It's not as, why is there mosquitoes? Why are there poisonous snakes? Yeah, I don't like those guys also. But that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about why do we deviate from this law, those things already imprinted in our conscience? Because we try different ways. Because we try to perhaps shortcuts. And you fall and you have to get up and have to continue to walk. It's a process. But God does not create evil. God does not create impatience and selfishness. We, at the point that we receive those laws imprinted in our conscience, at the point that we gain that innate not understand, but knowing of a divinity, we also gain over here that little drop of intelligence and that little drop of free will that we develop, that we make it bigger as we progress. But with that little bit of intelligence and a little bit of free will, ability to make decisions, we had to make many bad decisions. And we had seen people making bad decisions, profit, physically speaking, materially speaking, and we started to believe that was the right way to do it and neglect our own conscience. So we have to unlearn all those things. And again, it's a process. You have to free yourself of those two cancers that we have within us, that is pride and selfishness, as is said in the Gospel and according to Spiritus. Those are the two anchors that hold us in the mud of the universe. And that's why it's hard for us to do to others what it's like us to do to others and in the same circumstance. It's pride and selfishness that hold us back. So this process, the time that we need is to be proactive, consistent in the exercise of trying to eliminate those two things from us. And it takes time. And how long does it take? Then it's variable and it's for each one. But one thing for sure, anyone will get there sometime. 55, we can stop here.
Can I?
Yes,
Can I
please.
say,
Go ahead.
can I say that I must violate God's law? In order. And I say that I must violate God's law in order to gain the experience to eventually determine what's good in you. I'm thinking out loud.
I think a question like that.
No, it got me interesting because if I am simple and ignorant, I am definitely gonna make mistakes.
Mhm.
And even though the fact that